Ciao, I'm Vito De Salvo, and this is La Dolce Vita. Ciao, I'm Vito De Salvo, and this is La Dolce Vita. Today I'm going to be talking to you about pastas. Of course, in the South they call it macaroni. Now I'm sure you're all familiar with fettuccine, linguine, spaghetti, and penne. But today I'm going to be talking to you about 4 lesser-known pastas: gnocchi, garganelli, trofia, and orchietti. Now the 4 pastas I'm going to make for you are all going to be fresh pastas. But I'd like to just take a minute and explain to you about dry pasta. Now, commercially made pasta is made through extruding pasta through a die. Now the dies that are used can either be bronze or Teflon. This is a Teflon used die, and you can tell that the pasta is made much quicker and much smoother. Now, a bronze die is a much slower process, and it remains a lot grainier and more textured for the sauce to cling to. That's what you're looking for in buying good dried pasta. When we come back, we'll head to the kitchen and start making our homemade pastas. So stay right there. Well, welcome back. We're making pastas again, and like I told you before, in the South, they call it macaroni. Well, today I have someone here that's going to help explain that. Mr. Paul Policelli, journalist and author of Dances with Luigi and Under the Southern Sun.
Nice to see you.
How you doing?
Good, thank you.
Now, pasta in Italian truly means any type of dough. They refer to it as like the pasta for pizza, pasta for bread, pasta for pasta. That means actually dough they call pasta. Now, I know you were telling me that in the South they call it macaroni.
Yeah, in the North, the pasta, the root word is paste. Anything
Right.
that has a paste base. But what we refer to as spaghetti, or what we refer to as rigatoni, or something like that, the Southerners would have called the entire generic form of that macaroni.
Well, today we're going to make 4 different kinds of pastas, or macaronis. These are not even macaronis, because one is called a gnocchi, which is a potato-based pasta. Well, we're going to get that one started right now, because that's going to take a little time in our oven. Now, we're going to make a couple different kinds of pasta today. We're using 3 different types of flour. We have all-purpose flour, and we have semolina, and durum. Now, the grains of these are all ground differently. This one's bleached. Then we're going to put this one. We're going to make a garganelli, which is a pasta from Emilia Romagna, and it's similar to a penne. Then we're going to make an orchietti, which is like little ears, and that's all just plain flour and water. And then we're going to make a trofia, which is from Liguria, which is just like a little spiral. And we're going to put a classic Ligurian pesto sauce with that. We're going to start the garganelli. This is just plain flour, all-purpose. Then I'm going to get a couple eggs. Our dough hook. Be sure you don't use the wrong hook on how you break your KitchenAid. So we're going to make our doughs, and you want to let them rest for about 20 minutes in the refrigerator, because if not, they're very hard to work with. So we're going to make our doughs, and then we're going to roll them all out, and we'll see the differences. I'm just pretty much finishing it by hand, because you really want to make a nice ball out of it, make it nice and tight. This is durum flour. This is semolina. Now this one's just an all-purpose flour. This is the orchietti. And about a cup and a quarter, cup and a half of water. A little bit of salt. Okay, so you can see the 3 color differences in the pasta. This is the egg pasta. This is the durum and the semolina. And this is the orchietti, which is just the all-purpose. So you can see at least the color differences. And later when you cook them, you'll taste texture differences as well. Now we're making it the old-fashioned way. Hand crank right here.
Can you still buy hand crank?
Oh yeah. Now the best way to do that, because a hand crank, I mean most of these are very thin, so if you take that, slice it, if you make up a ball and slice it down to little thin pieces, it'll go right through it real fast. Then what you can do is put two together. First time, a couple times I put it through, I don't put any flour. Just because I want it to stick real well. Then, once you get it going, I take a mixture here of the semolina, the durum, and just use that to do all the pastas, just to work with it. And what you want to do is a trick to how when knowing your pasta is ready is you look at the sides. Okay? Now when the sides here are still broken apart, it's not ready. You want to keep putting it through. So what you want to do is fold it over once, fold it over twice, and put it in this way. And do that a couple times. See now how the sides are real even? That's about right. Now there are a couple different things you can do to make a garganella. You can have something like this, which my dad had made. It's just a piece of wood with some different grains in it. You can use that. That we're going to use for the gnocchi. And then we have this one. What you need is you need a little dowel rod. Okay? Now here's what we're going to do. We're going to cut little squares. Okay? And what we do is we take that square and wrap it around the dowel rod. See that? Mm-hmm. Come on over, Paul. You can try a couple. Now, if you're going to make a lot of this at a time, be sure to cover this maybe even with a towel, you know, a little bit at a time, or it's going to dry out and it won't roll. So you got to cut a little bit at a time. Go ahead, Paul. Why don't you give that a try? Show you one more time. Scroll it down. Okay. Slide it right on. Go ahead.
Of course, it always looks easy when the professional chef does it.
Nah, it's easy.
Klutz from Ohio.
All the grandmas in Italy do it. Come on.
Like that?
That's it. Slide it on.
Slide right on.
There you go. We'll be right back with 3 more pastas, so don't go away. Now what we're making here is are the trofie. Now the trofie are from Liguria, which, as you know, is in the north, in Genova. Yeah. Here. So now one of the sauces that they're known for is pesto. So we're going to make a classic pesto sauce with this today. Okay. So now this is a classical. We're going to do it the classical way. Now you can do it. You can make the pesto using a blender or a Cuisinart if you want, but this is the best way.
So the pesto, the word pesto is the derivative of pestle.
Right.
Ha! Learn something new every day.
Now, also the pesto. I mean, the reason why it's best to make it in here because the more you whip the basil in a blender, it'll become brown, and you don't want that kind of. You want to use really fresh. The key to a good pesto is fresh basil.
Pesto itself is the basil leaves, the basilico.
Basil.
And garlic and oil.
Garlic, pine nuts, and cheese, and oil. Now, I mean, there's many who argue what is a classic pesto sauce, but mainly it's garlic and salt. We're going to start off with that right now. Let me get you started. We're going to take 2 cloves of garlic. Now, we don't want to do too much, okay? Just a little bit of garlic.
You can't do too much garlic.
And a little bit of salt, okay? So I'm going to start hitting that.
All right, start hitting it. Just mush it real fine.
Right. Now you're doing it the right way. See, what you don't want to do is go like this. A lot of people think that's like, but you really just want to smash it against the side, and you're doing that perfectly.
I've seen a lot of movies.
So we're going to put in for 2 cloves of garlic, we're going to do about a half a cup of pine nuts. Okay.
And the same thing. Get
Same thing.
mashed
Just
into
start
it.
smashing those in, and then we're going to use about a packed cup of basil. Now this one, this is a very simple. Like I said, this was only durum, semolina, and water. Okay, a little bit of salt. Now what I'm going to do here, just make little pieces like that. Okay, I rolled out my dough again. Cut about not even a half an inch. You don't have to be perfect like this. You don't have to worry about, oh, this piece messed up. So this one, all we're going to do is, look at this, Paul. We're going to fold that, okay? Just fold our little strip, and we're going to make a spiral like that. Okay?
And what do you call it?
Trofie.
Trofie.
So these, we're just going to spiral them out. Now there are other ways to do this too. You could do it almost the same way we did the garganelli and roll it like that, but that takes a lot of time. I like doing it like this. You can just really knock a couple of them out real fast. And you really don't see the spirals in it yet, but when it's dried and you cook them, you really do. It's a really neat pasta. I love this. And we're going to really put it together with a classical pesto, and we're going to do a little rock shrimp and some spinach.
Ooh. I think one of the things that I've learned is that how practical the approach to diet and food is in the different regions. It's pretty much what's available locally.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, today that's changed a little bit because, like here in transportation and communication has done a lot for the whole world, so, anything is almost readily available anywhere. But, agreed, the classical dishes from each region were based on what they had there. We're going to add that basil right now. Just take it a little bit at a time, smash it in. Okay, so now we're going to make our archietti. Now this is very neat. Like I said, this means little ears. Now this pasta is the simplest of all. This is just the all-purpose flour and water and a little bit of salt. Now this one, we don't even have to use the machine. I'm just going to make little strings, actually.
I've always been curious as to how these are made. I've eaten them. I've never seen them made.
Well, you know what, too? There's many different ways to make the same pasta. I mean, I've seen people make it one way and then other make it another. It's all on what you prefer, but for me, this is what I do. I just roll a couple of these out. Okay? And I just cut off little pieces like that. See that?
Okay.
So what they do on these, Paul, is they just put them right in their palm. Press down.
So it's a thumbprint.
That's exactly what. Actually, it's the print from your palm
Mm-hmm.
that puts that outside print in.
Hmm.
Okay, so you really want to get some flour in there. If you push down on your thumb, turn it around so you can see like a little dimple almost,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and then you spread it out or pushing it back or forth.
And it gives them
Pull
the
it
ear
off.
shape.
That's it. Now, when they set up and dry, they'll become hard like that, and that way they won't fall apart when you cook them. All right, so we're done with these. We're going to let these dry out a little bit. Put these over here, and we're going to move on to our potato gnocchis. Now, everyone always asks, Paul, thank you, what's the right potato to make gnocchis with? Well, when I went to culinary school, I did an experiment in an experimental kitchen, and I used like 7 or 8 different types of potatoes. I even did instant potatoes, tried to make them. And the thing is, you want to use a potato that has a low moisture content, okay? Because the more water that's in the potato, the more flour you're going to have to add to keep it together. So you want to have as less flour as possible so they're light. You don't want to eat those and then they're going to be sitting in your stomach real heavy. So our potatoes should be done, so I'm going to pull those out of the oven. Okay, so Paul, what we're going to do here is, the secret now to making a potato gnocchi is to rice your potatoes, rice meaning pass them through a food mill, while they're hot. Now if you don't, what will happen is the potatoes will turn into glue. What you can do is you can either take off the skins, or you can take a spoon, which I'm going to do right now, and you can scoop them out, okay? But if you let them get cold, like this is really hot, you can see the steam coming off. It's almost burning my fingers here. See, now they go through like butter. See that?
All right.
Anybody get a view there? What I do is with the potatoes, I put in, for every potato I have about this size, and you see that's a normal baking potato, like an Idaho baking potato, I put in 1 egg yolk.
Per potato.
Per potato. Now every egg yolk, and then I put in a little bit of salt and just enough flour to bind it together. And I'll show you that. I'll stick my finger in the whole mixture, and if it comes out clean, that's enough flour. Now what you really want to do is let this cool just a little bit, because we're going to put in our egg yolks and we don't want them to cook. So we have to cool it down a little. So I'm going to spread it out and just let it cool down for 5 minutes. Take our little board. You need to put a little bit of flour on these. Get the lines on the back, and then the little thumb indentation. Got our gnocchi coming out here. Ready to put them all together, Paul? What do you think?
Well, we have to finish that pesto at some point, too. That was
Oh, that's perfect. We're gonna finish that easily. We're gonna put in some Parmesan cheese. I just put in a little bit of olive oil because what I want to do is, what they do is they keep this thick. It's not, you can tell it's not a sauce. It's just really a thick paste almost. Okay? And what we're going to do is, when we cook the pasta, we're going to take a little bit of the water that we cook that pasta in and thin out that sauce. We're not going to heat this pesto at all. You know, Paul, I was wondering, how did you ever come up with the title of that first book you had, the Dances with Luigi?
Well, my neighbor in Italy, who was my guide to the modern Italian, was Luigi. And Luigi loved to go to a dance hall in San Giovanni on Saturday evenings. And I went to that dance hall with him several times, as I describe in the book. And I realized that the metaphor of the dance was really what the modern Italian trying to connect to the sense of Italian heritage was really all about. It's an elaborate dance. They're Europeans. We're not. We're Italian Americans. We're going back and we're learning, well, what are the steps here? How do you do this? And they're asking us for the same thing. And it's almost as if we did two separate dances. And so my dances with Luigi were really learning what the steps were about who the Italians are. And then how much of that really related to what my family brought with them to this country, how much was different.
And I think Americans, I mean, we really have, I know I did, I had a real misconception of what they are like over there. You know, I really misunderstood. I mean, going over and living over there, I got to learn so much more and get a much better understanding, you know.
Really, most of us are raised with this sense of being Italian, but we're not Italian. We're Italian-American.
Right.
We really are a culture apart from the straight Italian culture. We're a little bit different than the general American culture, but we're more American than we are Italian. Oh, that looks wonderful.
Oh, you're going to be the first one in there, Paul.
What was the base of that, the butter?
Just a little butter, the smoked prosciutto, spinach, and a little Parmesan cheese. Buon appetito. You know, this next one, I don't even have to cook anything. This orchetti, the sauce is going to be completely raw. I'm going to just combine the tomatoes with our little fresh buffalo mozzarella.
Fresh mozzarella.
Which obviously is great mozzarella. You were talking about that earlier with me. About that. Where's that region from?
Just south of Rome,
right?
where they raise the cattle that they milk for that particular cheese. And the buffalo mozzarella is the only place where you're allowed to call it that, because it's there. Right. It's like a fine wine.
Sure, exactly.
And that cheese is just incredible. Melts in your mouth. And again, you just season it with a little bit of olive oil, and a little bit of basil, and maybe a tomato. And
when you have good ingredients, there's not much need to do anything with them. Good extra virgin olive oil, fresh mozzarella. Well, I almost got this other one done here. The orchetti is ready to go. All I have to do is throw that in there. It's all ready. I'm gonna toss in my gnocchi here. And people ask, how much salt do you put in your water? Well, my grandmother used to say something to me. She used to say, you want your water to taste like the ocean. That's when you'll know it's right. Gnocchi are almost ready. I have our brown butter working here. I'm gonna throw in the sage.
Now you just take the gnocchi right out of the water and put it in the brown butter.
That's it. I'm just gonna finish it with a little Parmesan cheese again. And now, the one you waited all day for. What we're gonna start off here is with a little olive oil. Like I said, we're not gonna cook this pesto.
It just goes on the way it's made.
Right. We're gonna take a little bit of this, we're gonna put it in the bowl. So we're gonna toss in our rock shrimp. I just toss a little tomato in that one. Now here's the trick. You wanna take just a little bit of water from your pasta sauce and thin that pesto out.
With the water.
Right.
As I expected. It's fabulous. That is wonderful.
So how are the pastas, Paul?
Fabuloso.
Thank you very much. Thank you for helping me. I couldn't have done it without you.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you.
All right. We'll see you next time on La Dolce Vita. Buon appetito.